Hi, so this is my presentation on personality. Personality is defined as an individual's unique way of thinking, feeling, and acting. And there are two different approaches to personality. There's the psychodynamic or psychoanalytic theory and the humanistic theory or approach. I'm going to focus on the psychodynamic theory because I'm going to be talking about the thematic apperception test, or the TAT. But before I talk about the tests specifically, I want to talk a little bit about what the psychodynamic theory is. A lot of it was theorized by Freud, and basically he studied the interaction between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, and he thought that our personalities, our minds were made up of, the unconscious and the conscious. The conscious he called the ego, and then the unconscious mind he split into two different regions or sections. First is the preconscious area, which he referred to as the superego, and so that's things that can be retrieved, that can surface to the conscious awareness. And then there is the rest of the unconscious, which is referred to as the id, and that's where you find a lot of the things that we've repressed because we've found them, we've deemed them unacceptable, like unacceptable passions and thoughts. These unwanted or unacceptable passions and thoughts can surface up to the conscious without our awareness. In disguise, you could say. They can surface into our daily habits and our jobs and our beliefs. And so the TAT is a way that psychologists can study our unconscious. So the TAT is called a projective test because it is able to project our unconscious. So because it uses the psychoanalytic approach, you can't really use any other sort of test, for example, like a true or false questionnaire or an agree or disagree questionnaire, because that would only target your consciousness. So the TAT was developed by a man named Henry Murray, and what he did was he decided to play a game called Murder with his daughter and her friends, and afterwards he showed them a set of pictures, and the children responded to those pictures, and I guess the children were more malicious after in their responses when they looked at the pictures, and so he thought they were projecting their inner feelings after playing a game called Murder. So that's essentially what the TAT is. It's where an individual is shown a set of pictures, and for each picture they tell a story. Sounds pretty simple. So there are actually 31 cards. 30 of them are actual pictures, and then one of them is actually blank, just a dark black, page. And with that one, the individual is allowed to tell whatever story they want to. And so over here, you can see someone conducting the test, and down here, here's some of the pictures. So, for example, like if an individual was shown this picture, they could say something along the lines of, she's holding him, because he's leaving off to war, that type of thing. And then the psychologist could say that that because you were talking about this lady watching her man leave to war, it might be projecting your inner feelings or your unconscious thoughts of your fear of abandonment, for example. Or the book uses the example of, a picture of a daydreaming boy, and the individual responds with something along the lines of that this boy was fantasizing about a certain achievement, and then the psychologist would say that they were projecting their own goals. So the TAT has been found to be valid and reliable in showing people's implicit motives or they're unconscious by numerous studies. It's actually used to assess achievement and affiliation motivation. And it's also considered very consistent over time, like the TAT responses. So if you were to show someone this picture, right now, and they told the story about the man leaving off to war, and then shown the same picture to the same person 10 years from now, they would tell somewhat of the same story. So that's what I mean when I say consistent over time. So of course the TAT isn't the only predictive test out there. Another one that's really famous is the Rorschach inkblot test, which is another predictive test. However, that one isn't considered to be as reliable or valid. It's actually incorrectly diagnosed a lot of otherwise healthy individuals as pathological. So that's why psychologists that follow like the psychoanalytic approach to personality prefer the TAT test.